My patient is Mrs. X. She is 38 years old female, and she is a homemaker by occupation, belonging to the social lower middle class, and she visited in OPD on 31st of January 2025 with the chief complaint of dribbling of urine on coughing and sneezing for the last 5 years. History of presenting illness. According to the patient, she was apparently well 5 years back when she had an unattended vaginal home delivery. Following this, she developed a complaint of urine leakage, which was insidious in onset. Initially, it occurred only during coughing, sneezing, and laughing, but but gradually progressed to leakage even while standing up from sitting position. The intensity has increased over time. Initially, it was just a dribble of urine, but now she has to use diapers for the same. Because of this, she experiences severe impairment in her daily routine activities and her social life. There is no history of urgency, no history of fever, no history of increased frequency of urine or burning during micturition, no history of nocturia, vaginal discharge, backache or constipation. There was no history of abdominal pain, mass per vaginum, loss or gain of weight, and there was no history of abnormal uterine bleeding. Now comes on menstrual history. Her LMP was on 23rd of January 2025. Her menses were regular, corresponding to 28 to 30 days cycles. Flow was normal for about 4 to 5 days, and she uses 2 pads per day. Uh, on her OPS history was para 3 plus 0 live issue 3, all full term normal vaginal delivery, and there were no complication in preparium, and she resumed her work after 3 weeks after delivery. On past history, there is history suggestive of urinary tract infections in the past, for which she took medications and found relief. Medical history, there was no history of diabetes mellitus, hypertension, COPD, asthma, musculoskeletal or neurodegenerative disorder. There was no surgical intervention in the past. Her personal history was diet was she was vegetarian, sleep adequate, boil was regular, bladder dribbling of urine on sneezing and coughing. Upon examination, vitals were pulse rate was 78 beat per minute, blood pressure was 124 by 80 mmHg, respiratory was normal, and her body weight was 71 kgs, and height was 152 centimeter. Her BMI was 30.73, which comes under class 1 obesity as per the WHO criteria. Upon general examination, pallor, icterus, cyanosis, clubbing, lymphadenopathy, and pedal edema all were absent. Systemic examination, CNS, CVS, and respiratory systems were normal. Now comes on abdominal examination. On inspection, abdomen was scaphoid in shape with normal overlying skin. Umbilicus was central and inverted. All quadrants were moving equally with respiration. There were no visible scar marks or any visible mass or distension. Hernial orifices were intact. On palpation, no local rise of temperature was seen. Abdomen was soft and non-tender with no evidence of organomegaly. Now comes on local examination of vulva and perineum. Patient was placed in dorsal lithotomy position with full bladder. Upon inspection, pubic hair appears to be normal. Labia majora and minora and clitoris were normal. No evidence of perineal tear or any scar marks. No excoriation seen on perineum. There was leakage of urine seen on coughing, which was done with full bladder. On perispeculum examination, vagina and cervix appears to be normal. Cystocele grade 1 present, but no rectocele and enterocele was there. Per vaginal examination, uterus was anteverted, mobile, non-tender with free fornices. Levator ani tone was weak, corresponding to Oxford grading scale grade 2. Bonni's test was done, which was positive, suggestive of urethral hypermobility. Q-tip test was done, which we can see in the image that there is Angle of baseline angle is more than 30 degree, which is suggestive of urethral hypermobility. Now comes on case summary. Patient Mrs. X, 38 years old, obese female, presented on 31st of January with chief complaints of dribbling of urine, on coughing and sneezing for the last 5 years. Our provisional diagnosis was para 3 plus 0, live issue 3 with stress urinary incontinence grade 2 with cystocele grade 1. On investigations, we have done urine routine microscopy and culture sensitivity. All were sterile. There was no, we have done liquid based cytology which was normal. USG was normal. Now comes on management part. Pelvic floor muscle training advised for 3 months as per the NICE guideline, and lifestyle modifications advised. Bladder diary given and explained to the patient. She will be reviewed after 3 months and further management will be decided accordingly. Word continence week. Can anyone tell in which month word continence week is there? Yes, it is last week of June.
Chocolate for it. Yeah, ma'am. We just want to know, had this patient approached you, what different workup is there any difference in the workup how you approach such a patient as compared to how we usually approach? Okay, well done, Kiran. Well done. You did very well. It was excellent history. I think because of specialism, when we take history in urogynecology, we don't go into details of other very detailed part of other things. So that saves us a lot of time to discuss things which are very pertinent. For example, there is no need of detailed medical history. There is no need of detailed menstrual history. There is no need of detailed obstetric history. There is no need of at all of any blood investigations or anything else. The only thing, because we are only talking about a urogyny problem, so we spend all the available time on urogyny complaint, okay? What we would have asked is how many cups of tea she drinks in a day, yeah? What is her intake of water, okay? When she had actual deliveries, was there any forceps delivery or it was just normal delivery, yeah? And you mentioned COPD. We can ask whether her cough is well controlled or she is coughing all the time, because there's a constant pressure on the pelvic floor. So just to emphasize on that more and a bit more about constipation, because that is a constant insult to pelvic floor. Yeah. And some people believe that green tea is better than normal tea. Green tea has more caffeine than black tea. Okay, so the best tea in the UK, we tell patients, it is something called red bush tea. I don't know whether it is available here. It is red color tea. It is only grown in South Africa. So it is something nice. It has no caffeine. It has anti-inflammatory, it's good for joints. So we tell patients drink red bush tea. Red bush tea. If somebody is going abroad or South Africa, you can get some red bush tea. And then you can tell them all herbal teas are good, like ginger tea, mint tea, lemon tea. Any tea is good as long as it hasn't got any caffeine. And you also tell them that chocolate as well as fizzy pop, like Pepsi and 7-Up, anything, this is also irritant to the bladder. Anything which is high spices which can irritate. But here we are talking about stress incontinence. So we need to talk about pelvic floor musculature, which you discussed very well. So because her BMI is 31, so first advice will be weight reduction, as you rightly mentioned. How long do you wait for that weight reduction? 6 months. So what do? We write on a piece of paper, this is your weight today and this is today's date, because people forget. And we tell them you cut down on carbs and sweet things. And we actually write down on the piece of paper, just avoid bread, biscuits, squash, fruit juices, anything nice you just avoid. So, and also you tell them don't eat biryani, you eat boiled rice if it is India. Because it is a biryani and cooked rice with oil is the worst thing, you can have high glycemic index. So we need to talk about boiled rice and cut down anything which is cooked rice, because I think that's the biggest problem. And for, yeah. So the atta or flour, it has to be wholemeal flour. So that's another. So if you lose 5 points, if you lose 5 points of BMI, for example, if my BMI is 30 and I become 25, BMI 25, I have 70% chances of curing my stress incontinence. So 5 points, yeah, this is the number you need to tell them. 5 points of BMI, 70% improvement. So you don't even need a doctor. But doctor needs to tell you this thing with evidence, that this is proven by research evidence. So 5 points of BMI reduction, 70% improvement in symptom. You may not need anything else. Yeah. So probably she has put on weight recently, most likely, or she is just drinking a lot more tea. Yeah. She has no evidence of any overactive bladder. She can hold, she's not passing urine that frequently. There is no nocturia. So it is pure stress incontinence. So it is insult to pelvic floor because of 3 vaginal deliveries, little bit increase in weight, as well as coughing because she has COPD and she has constipation. So she has almost every risk factor. Yeah. Hypermobility of urethra is because of childbirth. And exactly. Yeah. 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 The reason weight reduction is so difficult in stress incontinence because any physical activity she will do, she will leak more. This is the problem, isn't it? So I tell patients just have a big pad on and do physical activity and don't worry about leaking. Exercises, yes. Yeah. So pelvic. Exactly. But our own department, because with our practice, we have to audit each and everything and we have to prove evidence that this is what we are doing. So this is our own department statistics that 44% of the patients get cured with pelvic floor exercises. 44. And when we tell them these statistics on the screen, they get so reassured. And when I tell them you have to lose 5 points of your BMI, you have 70% chance. So all the invasive treatments are successful, but they have problems as well. Physiotherapy. Exactly. Yeah. 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 So it usually takes 3 months of exercises. Yeah. So because it is part of the sling, and when the sling gets taut, it's stabilized. So you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. So the benefit of the pessary is twofold. Number one, with the pessary in, she can do more physical activity to lose weight. She will be leaking less, and she can use the pessary as a treatment long term if she doesn't want anything else. So, yeah, I will never do a pessary as a first line. So first line is always weight reduction, referral to physio, and dietary restriction. Drinking more water and less fizzy drinks. Yeah. No, the problem in the NHS is it's not walk-in service. So a patient who needs to see me, she waits 1 year to see me. So it's 1 year waiting time just to say hello to me. So that is a problem. So when she sees me, then I explain everything, do everything, and then I'll send her to our physiotherapy department, which is part of my team. It's a urogyne physiotherapy department. It's not like general. And then physiotherapy will take her over for next 6 months. So they will do everything.
For our setup, we can call her after a month to reinforce whether she is really doing those
Yeah.
exercises, she is doing it correctly, and to encourage her more that you are doing well or whatever if she's not doing,
We have a good
she can be
nursing
reminded.
staff
Yeah.
today. They can also help us, no? Right? We being sitting in busy OPD sometimes don't give that much time on physiotherapy, which is
Yeah.
such a and weight loss, which our perimedical staff definitely can help.
So
70%
a group of nursing staff, they need to identify themselves and they need to specialize in pelvic floor. Pelvic floor physio, dietitian, as well as general lifestyle advice. So maybe 5 or 6 of you need to have special training